From our side, also very important, there's so many students turning up here and then they drop out. It's still a big concern to us, not only at the University of Pretoria, but in the country. And they do it because one of the main reasons is they didn't do their homework properly as to what they would like to become. They make decisions about study options based on information, money is a determining factor, or the parent wanted to do. He's not really in the field that he really would like to be. And then he arrives here, and within the first month or the first term, he realizes this is not the way. I'm not going to stay here. And then they start moving to other programs, or they drop out, and that is what we don't want. So we always tell them, please, before you even look at the admission requirement brochure with study programs, take time, especially that is why we move our focus also more to grade 10s and 11s. Take time, do research about possible careers that will suit your potential, your interest, because you need to be in that career for 40, 45 years after matric, and you need to be happy there. En ek hoef nie vir u te vertel hoe dit is om in die oggend op te staan en te dink asseblief net nie weer werk vandag nie. Dis nagmerrie. So that is, and then the moment and that's difficult, but we can assist from our side. We have questions, career interest questionnaires that we can do with them for free, and I know a lot of you are making use of that. I know at the schools there's excellent guidance for these learners. Parents can assist, but at the end, when they make that decision themselves, and they must make it themselves so they can take ownership of that, then it's the difficult part is past. Then they just have to go and say, okay, fine, I want to become a lawyer, and to become a lawyer, I must look at all the programs at the institutions, admission requirements. That's the easy part. Do I meet the requirements, and I get in my application? Right, so if they decide on getting into a program, they've done all that exercise, they know what they like to study, then it's important to realize that there's two sets of admission requirements that the student need to adhere to. The first one is the National Senior Certificate, or the IEB, or whatever some people are doing, the Cambridge. We don't have control over that. That is the National Department of Education. The learner at the end needs a matric certificate saying at the bottom, this student qualifies for bachelor's degree study, higher certificate, or diploma studies. And therefore, you have all your requirements of the 7 subjects that they must take. We will get to that. The other set of requirements is the university-specific or the faculty-specific requirements. Our requirements will differ from University of Johannesburg, Witwatersrand, Cape Town, etc. And that is why we also give our information, and they should look also at other institutions to compare and to see what the requirements are. For the National Senior Certificate, you know all those things. They need the 7 subjects. I'm not going to waste time here. The compulsory subjects, electives. The important thing for us is to get access to our degree programs, they must have at least 4 subjects from the designated subject list. And fortunately, there are 2 languages, and maths or maths literacy is already from this list. So they only need 1 more to qualify based on their subject package to enter into university or for degree studies. The other thing that we are more concerned about is that for at least 4 subjects from this list, they must have a minimum of 50%. Just to give you an example, we had a student here who applied about 2 years ago, coming to us with a 73% average at the end of matric. He was admitted with his grade 11 marks provisionally, but when he got here and he went to the faculty, they said, sorry, we can't take him now because he no longer meets the requirements. They couldn't understand that, but when we looked at his faculty, at his subject package, he met that. He's got 4 subjects from that list, but other subjects were like CAT, tourism, that is not on that list, which is fine. And he did well in that, therefore he had a good average. But for mathematics, he had just below 50, 49 or 48%. So that means he only had for 3 subjects from that list above 50. The others he had well above 50. But at the bottom of his matric certificate, it says you qualify for diploma or higher certificate studies. Nothing about bachelor's degree. Okay, the road was not closed. The only implication is he had to better his mark in matric, have it remarked, and then reapply, but then he can only enter the following year, and we don't want that. So I think that is an important message also to communicate to the learners. The APS score, I think everybody is on board with the APS score. You will see in our faculty tables, you get that the requirements there and the APS score that the students need. Just take note, when they calculate the APS score, and that is why we highlight it there, you can use the subjects that is not on the designated list to calculate the APS. And they count exactly the same as the normal 20 credits NSC or IEB subjects. So CAT, tourism, all those things, please let them take that. And that can add also to their APS score and even better their APS score, because we want them to have an APS score as high as possible, making it easier for them to be admitted. Only life orientation is obviously excluded, as you know, and then also additional maths, all these other subjects that are not proper 20 credit subjects, they are excluded from calculating the APS. There's just an example of our programs, how you will find it in the brochure, where we indicate to them all the information. There's an example of one of our programs in the humanities. It gives you the duration of the program, 4 years, and then the closing dates for South African citizens and non-South African citizens, and then the important thing, the achievement levels that they need, the subjects. They must have Afrikaans or English, and please note it's all, Afrikaans or English. On that level, you'll see there's NSC, you must have a 5, which is 60% at least, and then mathematics a 4, which is 50% in this case, and an APS score of 30. If they meet all these requirements, then they will be considered. We can't guarantee that they will be accepted into the program, because some of the programs are selection programs. There's other things playing a role, like the national benchmark test or interviews or whatever the case may be. But then they know they meet the requirement. The conversion table is more for people that are doing the Cambridge, the A levels. It's just a way to convert your specific mark in the A levels, for instance, to an APS mark that you can then read off in our tables. The big thing about mathematics and mathematics literacy, I know it's a very sensitive issue at schools, because people often don't want to change from mathematics to mathematics literacy because they think then it's the end of the road, which is not the case. So I know there's very good guidance at school also to indicate to learners whether they should carry on with mathematics. As far as we are concerned, we say if you have the potential to pass the mathematics, please stick with the mathematics, because it's a fact. If you don't have mathematics, there are certain programs that you will be disqualified for. Engineering, health sciences, these things where mathematics is a requirement. But if there are just people that they are not going to make that math. So if there's a possibility that they will fail the mathematics, please consider moving over to mathematics literacy. And you will notice I don't say move down to mathematics literacy, because that's not the case. It's two different subjects. The one is just easier to comprehend than the other one. But when they do mathematics literacy, and you can go and have a look in that brochure, there's still a lot of programs at the study programs that they can apply for and be admitted to. Most of the programs in humanities, law, some of the IT programs, education, theology, there's still a lot of programs that they can apply for. It's better to pass mathematics mathematics literacy than to fail mathematics, because if you fail the mathematics, you can also not qualify or meet the requirements for a specific program. Just quickly, the difference between selection programs and open programs. Selection programs, you will see, the easiest way to see them is all the programs with early closing dates, either end of May or end of June. It's number limited programs. We only have limited space, and we have a lot of applications. To give you an example, for medicine, we can take every year about 300 first-year students, but we get 3,500 applications. So that is why the selection is so strict. So in that case, the faculty will wait for all the applications to come in until a certain date, end of May, end of June, and then there may be other things like auditions or national benchmark test or value-added questionnaires that they must complete. They have a formula, everything in the formula, they get a ranking order, and they start filling up the program from the top, and the rest will be then on the waiting list if they don't make it. The open programs are the programs with late closing dates. You will see the end of September. Those programs, they can't wait for all the applications to come in. As the applications come in, the student meet the minimum requirement, they will be provisionally admitted. And that is also the motivating factor for our prospective students to please apply as early as possible. Our applications open 1 March. People, and really, if they need residence placement, I would go as far as to say they must apply within the first week of March. Otherwise, the residences are full. So I always tell the kids, don't worry about closing dates. Just get in your application after 1 March. You don't have to worry, and you know everything is in, and then you just wait for the communication and see how the process goes. Sometimes it happens that at that stage, a student knows what faculty you want to be in, but is not exactly sure about the study program. That's fine. Apply for the one that you think And then you can talk to us, and within, say for instance, within a month you decide, no, I don't want to do BCom entrepreneurship, I want to do BCom marketing. That's fine. Then you just write us an email and we will change it for you. But then your application at least is in. And that's things we can finalize then later on. Extended programs, I've already indicated to you the extended programs. If you don't meet the minimum requirements, then you can go on an extended program where the requirements will be a little bit lower. And you will see that also in the brochure. Please take note, those are all the faculties that we have extended programs in. And for the Engage program, and this is the change that happened now not long ago, only for the Engage program in engineering, the national benchmark test is a requirement. You must write it, and based on the result of your school mark and the national benchmark test, you will be then considered for the extended program. For the other two faculties, BCom and the BSc, it was also the case in the past, but they've changed it now. If you meet the requirements of the 4-year program, they will provisionally admit you to the 4-year program without looking at the NBT. But if you write the NBT and you do well in the NBT, then they may use that result to put you in the 3-year program. So it's always a good thing to, and we always recommend students to please go and write the NBT no matter what program you applied for. Because at the university, we use the NBT result to assist students to get them into study programs. To give you an example, last year we had this sad situation where a lot of students applied in grade 11, for instance, for engineering. They had above 70% for their maths. And then we got the end exam, and they had that terrible, I think it was paper 2 in maths. Their marks went down, they get their matric results, now this candidate has got 67. So he's out of the program now. We can't admit him because he doesn't meet the minimum requirement. But if that student, did he write the NBT, then we could use the NBT to say, okay, fine, you did well in the NBT, we put you back in the program. So it can be a safety net and a way of assisting students. So I think the message should be, go and write it in any case. The NBT, I think by now you all know, it consists of 2 subtests. Just take note. You only need to write the mathematical subtest if you apply for a study program where mathematics is a requirement. If you apply for BA languages where mathematics is not a requirement, you don't have to write the maths test, you only write the first test in. You must go, it's not a UP test, it's a test compiled by University of Cape Town, but all the universities use that. They've got a very user-friendly website. You just go to their website there and you book a time and a date that will suit you and the venue, and they go and write it. For some selection programs, like the health sciences, where it's compulsory, the faculty will communicate with the student and say, listen, you must write this test, and they even get a due date, I think it's the beginning of July. You need to write it before that. So you don't have an option really to write it later in the year, to give time for the selection process. Our hint is always, go and book your space as soon as possible because it can get full, but for as late as possible. And the reason behind that is to make sure that you cover, especially for the maths, that you cover your syllabus in maths at school level before you go and write the NBT. Then you make sure that they can't ask questions that you haven't done at school already or covered at school already. We can also assist a lot you will see on the Juniortukkie website, there's a link to the national benchmark test. There's people that we also recommend from our side that offer workshops in the national benchmark test because it's a difficult thing. You don't have old examination papers that people don't know what to expect. You are not allowed to use a calculator, so there's a lot of things that can stress up the students a little bit. But if they do, we find, if they do this kind of workshops, they get used to it, they explain to them the format of the test, they tell them where are they going to concentrate, will it be calculus or whatever the case may be, it just makes it easier for them. So you are welcome to go and have a look there and make the learners also aware of that.